Joey Kazan on here last week and talked about his great Uncle George and his granddad, John Kazana, last week. And for a lot of people that are listening here, we have a lot of regular listeners from the East Tennessee area since it's my home. But Les, when did you first come to East Tennessee to wrestle?
1968. I was saying about that today when I knew I was going to be on with you. As a matter of fact, I know it was September because it was fair time because my first shot there was in the old Bill Myers Stadium outdoors in the baseball park.
Right.
Yeah, because he ran out there the 2 weeks that the fair was at Chilhowie Park.
Right.
So it would have been September of '68.
And that right there tells you something that not even the fair did not even stop. Now wrestling, the fair is huge, which it was a big deal then, but people still would pick wrestling matches on Friday night over going to the Tennessee Valley Fair.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you know, Southeastern ran the Coliseum during the fair, so John never ventured near the Coliseum. He stayed in the park exclusively, except for going out, out to Bill Myers Stadium the 2 weeks of fair time.
Right, and that's what was the reputation of Knoxville, or what did you heard about it before you came here in '68?
Honestly, not a bunch. I probably wouldn't have ended up in the Tennessee territory at all if it hadn't been for Dennis Hall and Kenny Lucas. But Hall and I had been, we'd work with Luke down along the Gulf Coast, and Dennis and I had been partners, through Georgia and there and the Carolinas and down along the Gulf Coast. So anyway. I just was finishing up over in Charlotte. I'd been there almost 2 years, and they were saying, things are good here. Give it a try. So I came to, was based out of Nashville. So Knoxville was just one of the first bookings, and actually I knew, it was like Nick just got a booking fee off of it. It wasn't actually his town, and of course, Ron and Don and Whitey, right. And Tiny and a bunch of the guys were from the area, and for the most part, a lot of them never worked outside of that area. Whitey never left East Tennessee. But
maybe a shot in Birmingham every now and again, maybe a shot in Roanoke every now and again, but he was pretty much exclusive here in East Tennessee.
Yeah. So anyway, I had other than that, nothing. And there was no TV at that time. John didn't have TV then. I mean, everything was promoted in the newspaper, by posters, and I guess radio. Because, we just we'd show up on Friday night. If he was running a town on Saturday, we'd, stay over. If not, you might go back to Nashville or, go to your next town, depending on what that was. He didn't get the TV until... Go ahead.
If you were booked in Knoxville Friday, because most people don't realize, they think of Southeastern, which was a full-week territory, but East Tennessee, when you first got here, Mickey Barnes had the Tri-Cities, and
right.
His Anna family had Knoxville and Newport, Morristown, Lenore City, that little area there, but Mickey ran 5 days a week up here, but John and George, they only ran twice a week. So so you would work on the Goulas end through the week and then come up here on Friday?
Yeah. And then depending, sometimes it might be booked somewhere else on Saturday. I know one time Hall and I made 3 TVs on the same Saturday. We'd work Friday night in Knoxville, did Knoxville TV Saturday morning. That was up on the hill at 26 at the ABC affiliate at the time. And did that Saturday morning, put our sweats on, went to Chattanooga, did Harry Thornton's TV Chattanooga late afternoon on Saturday, put our sweats on again, got something to eat between there and Birmingham, did Birmingham TV live on Saturday night, my man.
Midnight. And that was the only live TV I've ever heard being at midnight.
Yeah, and then we drove back to Nashville and went home to bed.
Oh, could you imagine telling a kid to do that now?
Oh, my God, no, I can't. I honestly can't. But, yeah, John, there was no TV. That was talking about luck of the draw. When he first got TV, Whitey and I were the first baby faces exposed as a team, and Ron and Don were the first heels exposed, and we just all, hit the jackpot from the get-go.
wonder why, because he had TV in the early days, and there was a period there, I guess, of about 10 years that there wasn't any TV, like you're talking about. So wonder why he lost that TV for almost a decade.
Yeah, I don't know. I never did hear a story about that. But if you said it's, of course, a lot of the independents run without any form of television. But I mean, to think of a town the size of Knoxville running without television just seems unheard of. But that's I tell a lot of the independents posters and local giveaway newspapers and and the local radio stuff. I said that's basically what a lot of the big promotions did years ago. So the indie guys are just going back to basics, really.
And from my experience of working for TNA the last 3 months, they have found out that it's very successful if you got somebody in the streets hitting the streets that knows how to promote a town with flyers and window cards and a few comp tickets here and there. And it's amazing, like you said, no TV. The Kazana, the numbers that they put up Friday in and out, 52 weeks a year, whether it was Chowley Park, the Jacobs Building, or Bill Myers Stadium. Me and Joe Kazana talked about last week. I've got some newspaper clippings, he does too, where there was 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 people in Chowley Park, and the population in Knoxville at that time was a little under 50,000 people. So they were drawing 1 out of 5 to 1 out of 10 people every week to the wrestling matches. That's a huge amount of the population. Almost 10% was going to the wrestling matches every week.
We set, Whitey and I and the Wrights set the attendance in the amphitheater, the outdoor place at the park. And Fuller did more money, but ticket prices were higher, but they didn't outdraw us. I forget what the numbers were, but we put more butts in seats than they did. So it was hot, man. I mean, it was crazy hot. Whitey and I at Christmas got a Christmas card signed, as far as we know, by all the sorority members of one of the sororities over at UT that apparently watched the show. But yeah, it was, but with the TV, it was still just, like one Saturday night be Morristown, the next Saturday night Newport, then back to Morristown, Newport, occasionally Greenville, occasionally Lenore City, but, mostly just Morristown and Newport. And the other thing that he never did, and I never figured out why, and of course Fuller did, and we did several times, but when John was running in the summer in the amphitheater, if it rained, it was you either ran in the rain or you closed down, because he wouldn't move over to the Jacobs Building, which was just a rock's throw, as you know.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
I've always wondered that from looking at newspaper clippings where they said no wrestling, rained them out, and I mentioned this to Joe Kazana last week. I know he's listening. I want you to tell the story, Les, about when you and Whitey were booked with Ron and Don in the rainstorm.
Okay. That was outdoors at Chowley Park, the amphitheater, and we were all in the dressing room, and it was it was kind of spitting rain, and it rained a little bit harder. But it was, I don't know that it was ever totally stopped. And the windows in the dressing rooms were real high because there was no air conditioning, so they could be open and people couldn't see in. So anyway, John had come in and said, man, it looks bad. The weather looks bad. We may have to, call this thing off. And I forget what the hot angle was we were coming off of. But anyway, Whitey was standing up on a table, looking out that one of those little windows. And he said, John, you better get up here and take a look before you decide to do that. So anyway, a couple of us scrambled up on the tables, and there were 2 box offices. And there were 2 lines from those box offices back around the boxing building and out of sight in the rain to get into the park. And the deal is, in a situation like that, is once the main event is in the ring, you can't get, you're not obligated to give money back. So they put an opener on, I don't remember who it was, and we went on second. The main event went on second. I took my shoes off completely. I felt safer on a canvas barefoot. because to me, the wrestling souls on a wet canvas is like drag slicks on ice.
Right.
There is no traction. But anyway, you couldn't lock up with a guy and look him straight in the eye. You had to cock your head at certain angles because the rain was coming in at that slant. The ring lights blowing back and forth, and the people were sitting there. And we got our match in. Some of the people left, but they got at least one or two more matches in before we went home.
And
that's how hot.
The proof that, it is, no matter what day of the week, no matter what the weather, no matter what, if you've got something that people believe in, they're going to come. They're going to come to see it. And it's on the other hand of that is the old saying, the only reason you didn't draw was because you had something nobody wanted to see. Everybody makes excuses. Well, they just didn't want to see it. But for Knoxville, they wanted to see it.
That was that's just been a great town for wrestling.
Yeah. When you first came, before you came in, you said you hadn't heard much about it, but had you heard anything about Ron and Don Wright or Whitey Caldwell? Did you know anything really
honestly,
about them?
No, and when, and I'll tell you the truth, when John first said, you'd make a good partner with a local kid. Well, I had never met Whitey or seen Whitey work at that time. And I'm thinking to myself, no, I don't think so, because you got to realize those of us who did this full time, usually local guys were just, you weren't going any place with a local guy is my point, right? I mean, usually they were used mid-card, right, and so forth. And they didn't work full time. But anyway, I didn't say anything, I just got here. So anyway, then I saw Whitey work, and I thought, hell yeah, he's a hell of a talent, and so that's how we first got together, and we just clicked. It was he was just a hell of a partner, a hell of a worker, and it just
he's one of those very few that I've never heard anybody say a bad word about him ever. And he is still the most loved man here. I mean, he is the biggest sports hero that East Tennessee has ever had. People talk about Peyton Manning and this and that, but you got to realize Peyton has had all the TV and he's had national success and all that stuff. But if you look at, just like you said, week after week, even in rainstorms, Whitey Caldwell was drawing people in every town. He sold out Kingsport every Wednesday night from 1959 till his death in 72. I mean, that's unbelievable. The only other person probably that's ever had that kind of success in their hometown is Lawler in Memphis. But like you said, the old saying was, the local guys don't draw or they're not going to get pushed, but that was the exception here. And of course, they also had the great opponents of Ron and Don Wright, who were not the greatest wrestlers in the world, but man, could they talk and fight, and they made the people believe in everything they did.
Well, there's a case too, Beau, of the difference between then and now. Is you took the time, you didn't try to work, you worked around a guy's weaknesses and worked to his strengths, and if you showcased people properly, you could disguise the fact they weren't technically sound people. But of course, then you put those people with guys who were sound. I'll tell you a quick, a little funny aside. I'll never forget in my life the first time I worked for Leo Garibaldi in 1966 in Atlanta, who I'd watched he and his dad wrestle, of course, and I was a big fan. And so it was, of course, later, over the period of years, Leo shaped a lot of my philosophy and psychology as far as the business is concerned. But after working in Atlanta for a couple of weeks, he said, "You know what, kid?" He said, "You're a hell of a worker." And I said, "Thank you." He said, "That's the good news. Bad news is," he said, "you're going to do a lot of jobs because there's a lot of guys in the business that aren't." So, and that, that's something that I've said too. Back in the day, there were guys that made their living getting other guys over who were better workers than some of the top guys today.
Yeah, and I had that same discussion with George South many times. But people look at George South and a lot of guys that did Crockett TV and all through the years, they go, "Oh," and I hate these young guys. They go, "Oh, he was just a jobber. He was just," the first they don't even know what a job guy is. And second of all, they don't realize they were the ones that built the stars and were probably better hands than most of the guys that they put over each week on television.
because they not only had to get you over on your way up to the top, they had to keep themselves, and they still had to keep themselves good enough that they could maintain some credibility to get somebody else over later.
Yeah,
that was, in recent times, Jericho. You can tell Chris doesn't care about putting some kid over because he realizes he can do it. He's not going to hurt himself. He's smart enough to get the kid over without killing himself.
Right, and it's just that it's a lost art. There's very few left that can do that.
Sure,
and it's just.
I'll tell you one of the things that we got over, like Ring of Honor did the chloroform thing. What, about a year and a half ago, with putting the guy to sleep with a rag and the ether. I was laughing because everybody was kind of knocking the angle, and I said, "My God, we made a lot of money with that angle." in that TV station up on the hill at 26.
Up on the hill. My dad. They did it here in Kingsport, and my dad was in the crowd and at TV, and they threw the same deal. They threw the rag out, and my uncle Jack reached down, picked the rag up, and smelled it, and almost passed out.
Yeah. Here's something too for the young people. Listen, back in the 60s, color television had to have so much brighter lights because the cameras, optics weren't as sophisticated. The color saturation wasn't as advanced. So the lights in a TV studio had to be extremely hot. So anyway, we did that up at 26, and Ron chloroformed Whitey while Donnie and I are fighting on the floor. But in that hot studio, I thought everybody in the place was going to pass out. But, there was nobody could call it work because everybody in that room, in that TV studio, could smell that damn ether, for Christ's sake. I thought Whitey almost went on, he almost held it on Whitey too long, too. But anyway, yeah, I was laughing because everybody thought it was, how crazy it was for them to do it in Ring of Honor. I didn't see it, so I'm not sure exactly how it came off. But
I didn't either.
Hell, man.
How different was when you was coming up here? Did you ever work for Mickey Barnes up here in the Tri-Cities?
No, never did. I think I met Mickey one time. I think I only met Mickey once, I think. But I never did work for him.
That was
that's the funniest thing too. I think the whole time I worked in the Nashville territory, I think I only worked Johnson City, Kingsport, maybe 5 times. I don't know why, but Nick never, I just never got booked up that way.
Yeah, because the people that don't know, he ran Johnson City on Tuesday. Nick sent guys. They were in Tuesday night. They had 5 matches, so Nick would send guys from Nashville. And Wednesday night they ran Kingsport. Thursday night they ran Bristol, 3 matches, 2 singles and tag, 4 guys for years. Then in '69 they went to 3 matches, 6 guys on the card. And then they ran a Spot Town on Friday night, Spot Town on Saturday, which was always weird because his main guys, Ron, Don, and Whitey, all left to go to Knoxville on the weekends. So Mickey would get guys from Charlotte. They sent a referee and 2 guys from Charlotte to do Friday and Saturday for the Kingsport office. And I never understood that. Why not send them from who they already had here? I'm just...
Yes, you're looking for logic in the wrestling business. I know.
That's true. That's true. And also, this was the other thing. Melvin Johnson, my cousin-in-law, he was the referee here for Mickey. They sent him to Roanoke for Peter Pascaloo on Saturday. So why didn't they just send? It was all that's a mess there. I don't understand that at all.
No idea.
It just
now come to think of it, when I came into the Nashville territory in '68, Mickey wasn't promoting up there, and how I know that is because Dennis Hall was living up there somewhere, Johnson City, Kingsport, somewhere around there. He had moved up there briefly. Was supposed to be running the towns, and then I don't know why something didn't work out with his deal with Nick, and he came back to Nashville. But yeah, he was living up there when I came to Nashville in '68.
Yeah, the end of '67, Mickey had some kind of personal problems. I really don't know what it was. Nobody's ever said. I've just heard he had some troubles, and he still had his restaurant and the hotel there. The hotel's still standing, the restaurant's gone, but the hotel's still there on Fort Henry Drive. But he was not promoting the towns. He took back over in 70 and then ran them up until Fuller came and expanded into Southeastern and took over the Tri-Cities also.
Yeah.
So, and Mickey would help Johnny Weaver for the Charlotte office promote Kingsport up until he passed away in the 80s. So,
they were always trying to get somebody to move up there. I know. Well, when Jerry Jarrett first came to Nashville to be in the business, his brother-in-law, his first wife's brother, I forget his name, was with him, and he was supposedly going to be the guy to move to Tri-Cities and be a promoter. That never materialized, I don't think, at all. But I remember them talking about that was going to be, Jerry's brother-in-law's deal was to move up there. So they were always trying to get something going on. Yeah, that was.
And Mickey had a long, successful run. I don't know if he just wanted to get out. I know him and Whitey were real close, and after Whitey got killed in the car wreck, they said Mickey had no passion for the wrestling business. It became a job then. He loved it when he got to be with Whitey every day, and they were real close. And after Whitey got killed, he just, his heart was broken. He just, and too, Les, it's hard to go in these buildings and see where guys sit for years that you knew and they're not there anymore. And
sure,
it's a lot of memories. Now,
well, look at now. Just stop and think about who's passed away from the Mobile group just since the last time we were there. Yeah,
Misty and I were talking about that last week. It's going to be very different this year going to Mobile,
Yeah.
And it's just, So when did they get the TV back in Knoxville?
They got TV back in early '69. And
no format, just fly by the seat of your pants for an hour.
Yeah. Well, when I was doing John's TV, I was just concerned with wrestling. I mean, never crossed my mind that I was going to produce television, be a play-by-play guy or a color guy or anything else about, television. I was just on the show. Jim Hess would interview us. We were at work, and that was it. But, yeah, you're right. When Fuller took the thing over, we started there, took over in November '74. And he had Ron and I first got to be buddies in Tampa in '71, and his youngest son is my godson.
Yeah,
Cole.
Let me cut you off 1 second. If you're listening live, we're going to go over 15 minutes, so you can come back and listen to the last 15 minutes here shortly. But do you want to be a wrestler kid? We're going off the air live, but we got 15 minutes of archive you can listen to later. Okay, back to your story, Les.
All right. Anyway. So Ron and I were, we were tight, and he called me and told me he'd bought, it was going to turn into a territory, and he said, he said, I know absolutely nothing about television. You have carte blanche. Build me a television show. And I licked my lips and I said, yeah, we can do that, because I had several ideas I wanted to try, stuff that it wasn't being done that I couldn't get clearance to try any place else, So that was a good thing. But anyway, when I flew in the first weekend, between 1974, November '74, November '77, I commuted every weekend to Knoxville, and I lived in Charlotte, and I was doing TV in Charlotte, TV in Knoxville, and working both territories at the same time. But anyway, flew in on that first weekend in November. And he picked me up, and we had lunch out by the airport, went to his house, and he said, okay, so we need to, here's the guys I got. And also Nelson Raw and I helped him with booking at the very start too. But anyway, he said, here's what I want to use for TV. And I said, okay, where's your formats? Huh? I said, where are your formats? So I don't have any formats. I don't know what I said, you're ribbing me. No, I don't have any. So, okay. So give me some, stationery and a ruler, and I'll make a So anyway, I made a format, and he ran down to the, the copy shop and got copies made, brought them back, and we laid out the first format for Southeastern Wrestling on his dining room table. And when we went, and this is on Friday, when we went into the station on Saturday morning, and I walked into the control room and said to the director, "Here's the run sheets, here's the formats." He said, "What? Like, you got a format?" I thought, yeah, and that's when I found, that John had never used one.
Right.
Ever.
What, now, when the sale came and everything switched over, was there any kind of hard feelings from Jim Hess, or do you know about any? Because he had been
I don't. I hope he didn't have any with me. I don't know if him and Ron. I knew. Well, Ron told me, we're going to make this more serious, and that's just not. That wasn't Jim. Warp your head off hold is not very serious.
Right. We talked about that last week. Yeah.
Yeah. So I knew we were going to cycle him out. I knew that was going to be the case, but Ron's the one that handled that, and I never saw him once he was off the TV. Jim and I always got along. We drank a few brews together when Whitey and I were a team there. But I knew he was going to take him out of there. But yeah, they had never used a format, and we just wanted to settle it down and do more wrestling. And but I just thought it was funny as hell. Of course, we had to have a format because we were going to send that tape. We were going to bicycle it around. It was going to Hazard, Harlan, Kingsport, Johnson City. Yeah. So there had to be a run sheet to go so that those stations knew where to roll their commercials in.
How long was it they bought Knoxville into '74? How long was it before they came to Johnson City, Tri-Cities? Because they were still, when Ron took over Knoxville, there was still a while there where he just ran Friday and Saturday night until he got, into Hazard and into
I don't remember. He's opened. I don't remember. He took it slow at first, and of course, like I say, through the week I wasn't there right away.
Yeah.
I didn't move to Knoxville till '77, and but yeah, he built it slow. But at that, I'll tell you what, at the height of that territory, there was a waiting list of top talent to get in there.
Yeah.
I mean, for a small territory, the money was good, and you were home every night.
Yeah. The furthest trip would probably be Harlan or Hazard or maybe Pikeville.
Yeah. Well, maybe go to Whitesburg, Kentucky once in a great while.
Yeah.
But yeah, Hazard. Harlan. Like Wednesday, we ran the Maryville Armory. For those who don't know, Maryville is where the Knoxville Airport is. I mean, if I was going to work on the Maryville card Wednesday night and we need to be in a dressing room at 7, I left home about 6:30, 6:40, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, that Armory's it's not more than probably a mile and a half from the airport.
Right.
So,
it's still in the same place, I guess it is. But
yeah, same place. Johnson City was 100 miles on Tuesday night.
Sure.
East Kentucky on Monday, so maybe 150, 175 miles.
Corbin was 90 miles. Barberville would be maybe 115.
Yeah. Because
that was north. Yeah.
Of course, Knoxville on Friday night, and you went to Crossville on Saturday once a month or so, and which is about a 70-mile trip.
Newport.
Morristown.
It's funny. Ron, Southeastern never really got Newport off its butt. Newport was good for John. For some reason, Southeastern never did really well there, and he just finally stopped running. Of course, Morristown was always good. The tally.
Yeah, Newport is the economy there has always been bad. It's always it was. John didn't run it. It's really maybe a 4-time-a-year spot town. Really, I've seen people for years try to do it, and it's not a. But Morristown, my God, it's still one of the hottest wrestling towns you can find out there. It's crazy how the people come to the matches still there, and it's just. But those were easy trips for guys. No wonder everybody wanted to come to Knoxville. You make money. And
Ron almost got cut there one night too.
In Morristown.
Under the ring. Did I ever tell you that story?
No.
There was no apron on the ring, so you could, if you were sitting on the floor watching them, on a floor chair watching a match, you could look right from one side of the ring to the other underneath. And so anyway, it was Whitey and I against the Wrights for about 9,000th time or whatever, and so we got into a four-way, and Ron said, "Follow me." And he took a bump through the ropes and started under the ring, so I jumped out and I went in. I went in under with him, and anyway, he nailed me under there, and he had a roll of damn adhesive tape in his tights, and so he's taping my neck to the ring support, right?
Yeah.
He's going to leave. He's going to take. So I'm selling it, and he's putting. And then I'm looking, and he's looking past me, and his eyes get big, and he said, "Oh, frig," only that's not the word he used. And I said, "Huh?" And he started backing. Now realize he's facing me. I can't see what's going on behind us, and he keeps facing me, and starts backing out the other side from away from the way we'd come, right? And I'm thinking, what the hell's going on? And then in my peripheral vision, I see a fan, with a damn knife. He's coming to save me. He was coming to save me. And then he turned. Said when Ron was out and shot back up into the ring, and he turned around. He said, "I'll get you out of there, Les." And I'm thinking, "I got it, man." I'm thinking, "No, get away from me, my neck with that damn knife."
Oh my goodness!
I said, I got it, man. I got it. So yeah, that was the worst out of it.
Just up the road in Greenville's where he got stabbed and cut in the right in '66.
Yeah.
And almost died. Yeah, that's.
That's the other thing. That's the other thing the young guys don't know anything about today, and that's called a riot.
Yeah. I was in one in Greenville, Mississippi in the '90s, and looked out the door. Dundee said, "What's going on?" I said, "A riot." He said, "We don't have those anymore." I said, "Well, would you mind to take a look out here? Because I'm looking at one." Les, did you think Knoxville was going to? It was just kind of set up for next week. We're going to have Les back next week. But did you think that Southeastern was going to last forever? Did you think that?
Yes.
Hey, in those heydays, because there was some big business going here.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. It was I mean, well, it would have lasted through until the whole Vince WWF thing created a problem, and but that was what 5, 6, 7 years down the road, for God's sakes, from when but it was the war killed it. That's all that war did, is killed it. Period.
And it's amazing. The people that don't know the war, we're going to talk about that next week. But it's amazing how you look at Atlanta, the war in Atlanta in '72 to '74. That made Atlanta, because both sides.
I was there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was in the Atlanta office.
A few years later, it killed East Tennessee. I mean, just killed it.
Yeah, well, part of that, Beau, was the fact the population difference too. Yeah,
and a lot of newspaper clippings, a lot of press was, that war in Knoxville got a lot of attention. So we got about 3 minutes left, Les. I want you to tell people how they can get a hold of you. I'm gonna tell you, I went and looked at your website today, and I absolutely love the picture of you and Nature Boy Buddy Rogers.
Thank you.
From
Thank you.
When you was a kid.
Well, I'm on Facebook. I'm on Facebook, obviously, but I do weekend training camps for independent promotions around the country, and you can reach me at Les Thatcher at zoomtown.com. That's ZOOMTOWN.com, or Les at EPWT.com. If you're looking for some of my references as far as the camps, you can go to EPWT.com to the website and see the references if you need to. But yes, I'm open to do consulting, training camps, whatever, and
here's one I think
the money.
You need to expand one, because here's the thing now. There's 1 million TV stations out there now since everything went digital. Everybody has television now. Everybody in independent wrestling doing a TV show needs to talk to Les Thatcher, because you made the Knoxville, all this stuff that they have taken for granted, that the music videos, the personality profiles, all this stuff were your brainchild, and people, they didn't have that before you came along. And,
well, that's why I was when I said earlier that when Ron gave me the red light or the green light to just build me a show, you have carte blanche. I thought because there were things, and it worked. Right. Which is not to say I've never made 4,000 or 5,000 mistakes in my time, but that wasn't
well,
one of them.
That's how you learn.
Yeah. So we're going to do this again next week?
We're going to do this next week. Next week I've got a list of guys we're going to talk about, like the Mongolian Stomper, Joe LeDuc, and Ron and Robert Fuller, and Jimmy Golden, and the Southeastern days, and we're going to talk about the war. So if you don't know what the War of Knoxville is, come back here next week. And here's the thing. I got to keep myself going. I got 2 minutes. People, I do this show because I want the people to know the history of our profession. I want them to know Knoxville is becoming a forgotten territory. Continental is a forgotten territory. People don't realize there was a territory in Kingsport. They don't know about the Ohio territory, which was one of the first big-time territories for TV, you know, and we try to educate everybody. Right here next week, Les Thatcher is the man, because other than Ron Wright, he has been here in East Tennessee more than anybody. He knows what's going on. And we're going to talk about the war between Southeastern Championship Wrestling and All-Star Wrestling and how that all came about. Les, thank you very much, and I'm looking forward to next week. Looking forward to seeing you in Mobile here in just a few weeks. From East Tennessee.
All right, buddy. I'll talk to you next week. Take care.
All right, my friend.